This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
This is the Weekend Check-In from the Modern Taoist with Kip Man. Join the absolutely free Modern Taoist community on Patreon at patreon.com/themoderntaoist. And now, Kip Man.
Well, hello and welcome. Turn the music down, kid. Welcome to the Weekend Check-In as we head into another weekend here on the Modern Taoist. Thanks to everybody hanging out over on Patreon. It's absolutely free, patreon.com/themoderntaoist. And of course, the podcast is free, and the videos are free, and the social media is free. We do everything we can to bring the message of being centered, being aligned, being still. If you are interested, I have a little announcement to make that I made on Patreon this week. And if you were there, you already know what I'm talking about. And if you're not, I will make it for you right now. Because so many people have asked, I have hesitated to do this for quite a while. But because so many people have asked, we are going to go ahead and make available to you private, lack of a better word, Taoism. I don't know exactly. I don't know exactly the words we're looking for here. Private guidance is what we're calling it, but it is a chance for you to have some one-on-one time with me and some specific questions that may be too deep to get into in just a casual comment question or a casual email. A chance to spend more specific time with you about what you may be experiencing or what you may need some attention with or some help with or some guidance on. The information is on the website, and I have kept it. We did a significant research to try to figure out the absolute minimum that I could charge for this, because I don't ever want Taoism to seem like a grift. It just, that's one of those things that grates on me. And at the same time, my time is finite and I can't get to the 40 or 50 questions that we get every week. I can get to all of them to give cursory answers, but I can't get in too deep with you. So this is an opportunity. It's extremely inexpensive as far as we can tell. Most people have said, oh my gosh, you should charge more, but we're not going to. So just go to the website if you are interested in doing something like that. There's a one-off kind of session where you get a little back and forth with me for like a one-time kind of thing, or there's a monthly that you can do an entire month and get 4 weeks of pretty consistent contact. So it's on the website, daoananda.org, DAOANANDA.org or .com. It's down. If you scroll down, you'll see private guidance. Or you can go to the Patreon page, and we're always there answering questions. That's another place to be, patreon.com/themoderntaoist. So one of those questions that came in on Patreon this week that I want to turn into a weekend check-in episode. A listener wrote in this week, and I suspect that they're not the only ones feeling this. And the message was very honest and very direct, and you could tell they were a little frustrated. And they said they've been trying to do the things that the practice asks, and the stillness and the slowing down and the presence. And their experience of all of that is, to be blunt, boring. She said, it's boring. I can't do it. My mind races. Nothing sticks. The quiet is supposed to feel good, and instead it feels like an empty room, and I'm frustrated that there's no furniture or posters on the walls. And she said, I don't feel any particular reason to keep going. And I get that. I want to make sure I take it seriously and not make a joke about it, because everyone has a different experience with the beginning of the practice. And frustration is real. And the question underneath that, though, is genuinely interesting. And it's not just, why can't I do this? It is, why does this feel so foreign? Why does the removal of stimulation feel like deprivation? Why does the quiet mind, which every contemplative tradition in human history has pointed to as something worth having, why does that feel so wrong? Especially to people in Western cultures. The racing mind is not the problem. The racing mind is the symptom. And understanding what is a symptom and what it is a symptom of is much more useful than trying to stop it. Western relationships with stimulation is a big deal. It is not a personality quirk of yours that you cannot quiet down. It is the predictable outcome of your cultural operating system that has been running for several centuries. And it has at its core a very specific set of assumptions about what constitutes a valuable use of your time. Because the Western culture is typically based on a specific work ethic, which is referred to in many terms as the Protestant work ethic, which is what shaped Western culture far beyond the religious implications of that. It established a direct equation between productive activity and moral worth. Idleness was not simply inefficient, it was the devil. It was, at the very least, suspicious and lazy. It was a condition in which weakness took hold, in which character deteriorated. If you were idle, you had no worth. The busy person was taught to be the virtuous person, and the still person was the person who hadn't found enough to do. And that equation evolved and got secularized over the centuries, but it did not disappear. It just simply changed. So it's no longer thought of as between virtue and sin. It is now about productivity and waste. It is about optimization and inefficiency. It is about growth and stagnation. And these are all judgments. The moral charge is still there, but now we run it underneath an economic language. So a person who is doing nothing in the deep cultural grammar of modern Western civilization is a person who is failing to justify their existence. When you sit down to be still, genuinely still, without a screen, without a phone, without a task, without something to show that you're doing something, cultural programming does not politely step aside. It activates. The boredom that she describes is not a neutral experience of having nothing to do. It is a specific discomfort of your nervous system that has been trained to associate stillness with failure. And it is now generating an alarm signal in your brain. The racing mind is not misbehaving. It is doing exactly what it was trained to do since you were a child. It is looking for a task. It is looking for output. It is looking for the reason that this time is being spent in a way that can be justified. So it is not a failing on your part, and it is not a boredom situation. Taoism arrives from a completely different cultural inheritance, one that did not build its sense of human worth on productive output, one that looked at stillness not as an absence of activity, but as a condition of its own. Wu Wei, the principle of non-forcing, of acting in alignment with what is naturally present, is incomprehensible within the Western productivity framework. It doesn't translate directly. And it's not because the concept is wrong. It's just that it's speaking two different languages. Stillness has value. The unproductive moment is not a wasted one. In fact, I don't even like the word unproductive, because that is putting a label on something where you actually are being productive, just not in a way that you're used to. This is why trying to practice Taoism by applying Western effort produces frustration and makes you think that it is a boredom situation. Trying hard to be still. You see how those things are in conflict? Trying hard is the opposite of being still. Working at being present, two different things. Bringing the full force of Western achievement to the project of non-achievement, it doesn't work. It doesn't cooperate. But there's another layer of this that goes a little deeper than cultural programming, and it is why the removal of stimulation feels like deprivation. Stimulation is not just a preference. It is a physiological baseline. The average Western adult has spent years, decades, maintaining a level of continuous sensory and cognitive input that would have been unimaginable to any generation in human history until the last 40 years, 30 years. Screens in front of your eyes from the moment you wake up. Podcasts during your commute. Background noise at work. Screens at break time. Screens while you work. Screens at mealtime. Screens back to work. Screens in the car. Screens when you get home. Content. Your brain is full. And so the absence of stimulation does not feel neutral. It feels like drug withdrawal. The quiet room does not feel like a quiet room. It feels like an asylum. The racing mind that she is talking about is not a sign that they are bad at stillness. It is a sign that their nervous system has been running at a level of activation for so long that dropping below that it produces genuine discomfort. Their mind races because racing has been what their mind has been trained to do. The gap between one stimulus and the next has been systematically eliminated, and so the mind fills that gap with its own garbage, its own noise. Lao Tzu wrote about usefulness. He pointed to the empty space inside the wheel, a vessel, an empty room, and identified that emptiness as the source of something's function. A wheel works because of the hole in the middle. A cup is useful because liquid can go into it. A room is habitable because it is not filled to the brim with crap. Emptiness is not absence. It is the condition that makes all things possible. A mind that has had its empty space filled with continuous stimulation does not have access to the hollow center any longer. It is a cup that is full. It cannot receive anything new because there is nowhere for the new stuff to go. The boredom, then, is not evidence that stillness has nothing to offer. It is evidence of how thoroughly the capacity to receive what stillness offers has been compromised. So how do we fix this? We don't try harder at stillness. The listener says she's been trying and trying. That trying is part of the problem, because every unit of effort applied to the project of being still is another activation of the same Western achievement framework that made stillness difficult in the first place. You cannot effort your way to no effort. What the practice actually wants you to do is something more modest and more achievable. It does not ask you for a quiet mind. It does not ask for an absence of thought or an experience of stillness that feels profound or something that is recognizably different from ordinary life. What it asks only for the willingness to stop adding, to not reach for stimulus when the current one ends, to sit with the discomfort of the gap. And the longer you are able to sit with the discomfort of the gap, the longer the gap will be. Your mind is allowed to race. Your boredom is allowed to be boring. The discomfort of understimulation is allowed to be uncomfortable. None of that is a failure on your part. All of it is what your nervous system does when the continuous input stops. The practice is to stop treating what it does as a problem. So this weekend, try something specific. Not meditation, not stillness as a job. Simply choose one activity that you would normally accompany with stimulation. Put your phone in a drawer, eat a meal without it. Take a walk without it. Leave the TV off for a while. Make a cup of something. I don't care what it is. Do it without an accompaniment. No phone, no podcast, no background noise, no music, no television. Just the activity itself. It doesn't have to last 3 hours. Just make a cup of tea. Pour a glass of water. Do something without something else going on. And your mind will race. That's okay. Let it race. When the discomfort of that gap makes you want to reach for the phone, notice that wanting, that's okay. But just then, be rebellious. Don't obey. You're not trying to achieve stillness. Those two things are incompatible. You are simply refusing. For the duration of one activity, you're refusing to fill space. And that refusal, if you do it enough over and over and over and over, without any expectation, is the beginning of stillness. Not the beginning of a quiet mind, not the beginning of a different relationship with yourself, but the beginning of a different relationship with the internal noise. So the listener who wrote that, the fact that this feels boring is not a sign that the practice is wrong for you. It is a sign that you know exactly what needs to be worked on. The boredom is the edge of the trained incapacity. Sitting with it without trying to fix it or trying to transcend it or trying to achieve something is the practice. Not the preparation for the practice, but the practice itself is simply the act of sitting with that boredom. And always remember, Taoism is not asking you to become a different kind of person. It is not asking you to want less stimulation or find the quiet mind effortlessly available. It is asking you to notice what happens when you stop feeding the restlessness, and to do that noticing without judgment and without agenda. The depth will come later. And it comes, believe me, it comes on its own. When the cup has been emptied enough, it will begin to receive something else. So this weekend, empty the cup a little. One activity, one gap, one moment of not reaching, and see what is actually there when you stop filling the space. And if this check-in spoke to you in some way, maybe helped you with something that you've also been noticing, follow the show so you don't miss the full Tuesday episodes of The Modern Taoist. Find us over on the Patreon page where there's a lot of activity usually. It's patreon.com/The Modern Taoist. And go to the website at daoananda.org, DAOANANDA.org or .com. And if you know someone who's been trying very hard to be still, finding it impossible, send this to them. They need to hear that trying is the problem, not them. They're not failing. And that'll wrap things up today for this Weekend Check-In.
Thanks for joining this Weekend Check-In from The Modern Taoist with Kip Man. Like, follow, and subscribe on this platform for new episodes every Tuesday. And join the free Patreon community at patreon.com/themoderntaoist or visit us online at daoananda.com.